please hit that subscribe button. Hey everybody, better suited to win the Stanley Cup this season. If you are new to the channel, Washington Capitals, the Boston Bruins.
Locked on and he scored! And we're live. Hey everybody, so today we are continuing my 3 Reasons Why series with the Toronto Maple Leafs. So in this video, I am going to give you 3 reasons the Toronto Maple Leafs will make the playoffs this season and 1 reason why they will not. Before I get started, I just quickly want to remind everyone to please hit that thumbs up button and give this video a like. That really helps out the channel a lot. And subscribe if you are new. I got lots of great hockey content coming your way as we head into the playoffs here, so please hit that subscribe button and follow along. So, the Toronto Maple Leafs, currently the number 3 team in the Atlantic Division in a playoff spot right now. Let's see, 4 points ahead of the Florida Panthers, who they just beat last night in a huge divisional game to extend that lead to 4. So, Toronto looking pretty good is position-wise right now, but obviously there's still a month in the season left. Every team's got about 15 to 20-ish games left, so there's still time for things to change. So 3 reasons why Toronto will get into the playoffs this season. Reason number 1, talent. Toronto is a super talented team, guys. There is no reason for them to not make the playoffs with this roster. They are a super talented team. It's been a disappointing year that they are in 3rd place and not up there with Tampa Bay and Boston fighting for the lead in that division. It's been a disappointing year for the Maple Leafs, but still, they're in a playoff spot and they're a very, very talented team. Austin Matthews, Mitch Marner, William Nylander, John Tavares, Kasperi Kapanen, Zach Hyman. Morgan Riley, obviously injured, has really, really hurt them. Tyson Barrie, though, a good offensive defenseman. Jake Muzzin, their best defensive defenseman, another guy. Injuries have played a huge role in the reason Toronto struggled this season. But Freddie Anderson in net, pretty good goaltender. Freddie Anderson isn't an elite, he's not a top 5 elite NHL goaltender, but he's a good goalie. And overall, this team has a lot of talent in the lineup. They're a very good roster, a very good team, especially offensively. And that's going to be a big reason why they get into the playoffs, because they're going to have to outscore teams to win games, and they have the talent to do that. Because defensively, obviously, they struggle, and we'll talk more about that later. But offensively, they're a very talented team. They're a very high-scoring team, and that's going to be a big reason that they get into the playoffs. Reason number 2 that they get into the playoffs kind of goes right along with what I was just talking about. Talent-wise is scoring. Toronto is one of the top offensive teams in the NHL this season, as they should be with this roster. They've got 229 goals for already, which is actually the most among playoff teams in the Eastern Conference. So they've got more goals than Washington, more goals than Boston, more goals than Tampa Bay, more goals than Pittsburgh. They're one of the highest scoring teams in the league, and they're a very, very good offensive team. And that's going to, again, be the reason that they make the playoffs, because they win games by outscoring opponents. And the defense obviously isn't there all the time with Toronto. They struggle a lot in keeping the puck out of their own net. But you can win, at least in the regular season. Now, it's kind of a different story come playoff time. And again, that might hurt them down the road. But in the regular season, you can win games by outscoring opponents 5-4 or 6-5 and winning games that way. And Toronto is able to do that. They have the scoring, they have the talent, they have the players that can do that. So if they make the playoffs this season, their offense is going to be the reason why. Their offense is going to lead the way with those guys, like Austin Matthews and John Tavares and Willie Nylander and Mitch Marner and these high-scoring players who put up a lot of points for Toronto. And, that's going to be a huge reason why they get into the postseason. Reason number 3 that the Toronto Maple Leafs will make the playoffs this season is their home record. They only have 9 regulation losses on home ice this year, and that's huge. 16 wins, 17 OT losses. When you combine that That means they've gotten points in 23 home games this year. Only 9 regulation losses. Still single-digit number of regulation losses on home ice. That is absolutely huge. And they play well at home. They're a good home team. And they're not bad on the road either. They've actually got more wins on the road than at home. But they've got a lot of home games coming up here to end their season here. If we pull up the Toronto Maple Leafs remaining schedule, they've got some big home games left this season that they're going to need to pick up points in, and their ability to win at home and their home record and the fact that they don't lose very often in regulation on home ice is going to come up huge in them picking up points the rest of the way here. They're at home versus Vancouver tomorrow night. They go on their California trip early in March, but when they come back, they're home against Tampa Bay, home against Nashville, home against the Islanders, home against Florida, another game against Florida. And then they finish up the season in April with 2 home games, one against Detroit. Obviously, they need to win that one. And home against Montreal to end the season. And they've got some other home games mixed in there against some other teams that they probably should beat. So, I mean, their home record and the fact that they pick up points in pretty much every home game is going to be absolutely huge for them going in through the final stretch of the season here. And that's something that they're going to need to capitalize on. They're going to need to capitalize on home games and winning at home, and the fact that they don't lose in regulation on home ice. And if they do that, they're going to be in a good spot as far as making the playoffs go. So that's going to be, I think, a big reason why they do get in, if they do. So there are your 3 reasons why that Toronto will make the playoffs this season. They're talented. They're a very high-scoring team. They have the ability to outscore opponents, and they're very good at home, and they really don't lose in regulation on home ice, which means they're picking up points when they play at home, which is very important. Every point is very important here at the end of the season. So now let's switch it up, and I'll tell you about the one reason that they don't make the playoffs. And if Toronto somehow doesn't make the postseason this year, the number one reason that they will not get into the playoffs is defense. They are awful defensively. They're a bad defensive team. And they did nothing. Kyle Dubas did nothing at the trade deadline to upgrade their defense. He didn't add any significant piece. He brought back Calle Rosen, who at best is a bottom pair NHL defenseman, really better suited as an AHL defenseman. That's not a significant move. He didn't make any significant moves to improve the team defensively. And defense has been an issue for them, not just this season, but for the past few years. It's been the number one thing that has held this team back from becoming a top-tier NHL team, a full-on Stanley Cup threat, and a team that could legitimately win the Cup has been their defensive play. And it's the same story this season. Again, this year, they've struggled defensively. And they give up a lot of goals. We talk about them scoring 229 goals and being, a really high-scoring team near the top of the league. If not actually looking through the teams here, they might be the highest-scoring team in the league. I don't see, and no one else has 229 or higher. They are the highest-scoring team in the league. They've also given up 216 goals. So they're giving up almost as many goals as they're scoring, and they're the highest scoring team in the league. I mean, that's a problem. That you are not going to go far in the playoffs with defense like that, and you may not even make the playoffs with defense like that. If Toronto somehow doesn't make it and gets passed for that 3rd divisional spot in the Atlantic, defense is going to be the number one reason why. It's going to be where 90% of the blame should go for that. I mean, they're playing guys like Justin Holl and Martin Marincin big minutes, and that's a problem. And obviously, injuries have played a huge role in that. Morgan Riley's missed a lot of games this season. Jake Muzzin now injured with a broken hand right at the worst time at the end of the season. Cody Ceci's been out of the lineup, although that might be a good thing for Toronto because he's awful. But they don't have a good defense to begin with. Now you're taking some of their better defensemen in Riley and Muzzin out of the lineup, and that mediocre to bad defense goes to horrible defense with those guys out of the lineup. So if Toronto somehow doesn't get in, defense is going to be the reason why, and it's been an issue for them for years now. It's still an issue for them, and something that they need to fix if they're going to become a top-tier NHL team. They have the offense and the talent to be a top-tier NHL team. The only thing holding them back really is that defense core, and they need to find a way to fix it, whether it's through drafting good young defensemen or whether it's making a big splash in free agency and bringing in somebody or making a huge trade. They need to find a way to get better defensively, and that doesn't mean bring in offensive defensemen. That's literally what they've been doing, is bringing in more offensive defensemen. That doesn't help you in your own zone at all. They need to bring in more Jake Muzzin type players, more defensive defensemen who can help out and play in their own end and not be absolutely useless in the defensive zone. Another Tyson Barrie is not going to help this team. Another Jake Muzzin would greatly help this team. So they need to find a way to fix that on defense. But it's not going to be this year. They didn't do anything defensively really at the trade deadline. So they're going to have to address that in the offseason. But if I had to guess, guys, Toronto will be in the playoffs this season. I really do see them making it. I don't think, given the way they've played the last couple games, beating Tampa Bay, beating Florida, 2 big divisional wins there for the Maple Leafs, and looking at their upcoming schedule the rest of the way, they've got some tough games on there, but they've got some very winnable games on there. I really do think that Toronto makes the postseason this year. They're too good of a team not to be a playoff team. How far they go in the playoffs, I think they're probably out in the first round again. I don't see them winning in the playoffs, but I do see them making the playoffs. So there's my 3 reasons why video for the Toronto Maple Leafs, guys. 3 reasons why they will make it and 1 reason why they will not. In the end, I do think that they make it. They should be a playoff team this year, and I think that they do make the postseason. How far they go, that remains to be seen, but I do think that they get in. So with that, guys, like, comment, share, subscribe. Follow on social media. All those links are down in the description below. If you'd like to further support the channel, links to our Patreon and merchandise store are down in the description as well. Keep spreading the word about this channel. Let's keep this thing growing. Thank you very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll talk to you guys soon.